All right. All right. All right. Welcome, everyone. We are going to, I'll probably give this another 30 seconds. I know we have a 30-second countdown. I just cannot help but think that's just simply not enough for this generation.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
I heard something interesting the other day, which is a good rabbit trail before you do our intro. So, like the chat, and I don't know how it is on X or StreamYard, but it can be like minutes behind. So, like it's showing 3 right now, which that should be pretty accurate because you just fired up. But like, it could show like 60, but then like minutes later there's nobody on here because they all like hopped on and hopped off. So I just thought that was an interesting view of like, and I don't know if there's a way to turn off this number, but I think sometimes we get too distracted by it. It's like,
oh, I
ooh, the
love
number
seeing.
I mean, or oh yeah, you love the instant gratification of it. But anyway, I heard a guy just talking on a YouTube video about how like, hey, you can't really trust the numbers that you see.
Yeah.
What you can trust is 45 to 31. The Commanders are beaten
Yike.
down. You got the game
Yikes.
on still?
I don't. I do not have the game on still, but I am excited to talk about it because I am very impressed with Jaden Daniels, man. I'm sure the entire NFL community is. But
Oh yeah.
yeah. Well, I guess should
You
we
give
just go
another
ahead and get
minute
started
here,
then?
whatever. Here, I'm getting us posted on X, and then yeah, you kick us off
All right,
whenever
we'll
you're
give it
ready.
another minute or two. Okay. Here, let's do this while we're waiting here. Hopefully.
Oh yeah, you got some music for us?
No. Nah, we'll just stop doing that because honestly, even if there are still 3 people on, they're not going to be on for much longer if I do that. So
There's some low quality music.
yeah, yeah.
Lions
All right.
fan, Texas fans.
I'm just gonna get rolling then. I'm just gonna get rolling.
Yeah, get
All
after him.
right. Here we go. Well, I thought I was. Oh my goodness. I thought I was. Okay. Yes, I am. Welcome, everyone, to the Sideline Podcast. My name is Jared Booker, and my co host is Kevin Showalter. We are two best friends who love college football and hope to help you create unbeatable fantasy football teams. We do have some news about that, but before we get to that news, I want to shout out one of my new favorite companies. And no, they're not sponsoring us. But if they want to sponsor us, and the only form of payment is just really cool hats, I'm in. Because I don't know if anyone noticed this throwback Tennessee Vols cap that I got on. And honestly, it's it's a small company. It's called Bad Day Hat Co. I'll put the link in the chat. But they make all kinds of sweet hats, and it's not like lids or anything. They're like, this is a very well made hat, and I have a big gourd, and so most of the time hats do not look normal on
Huge,
me, and I think this
huge.
hat looks pretty good. This hat looks pretty good. So Bad Day Hat Co. If you want to just toss some Tennessee hats our way, well, actually probably Tennessee for me, but not for my buddy Kevin here, as payment. Hopefully you sell just tons of hats. So I'm throwing your link in the chat right now, and I did see a little coupon on there that if you throw your phone number in there, they'll give you 20% off your first order. So, yeah,
All right.
pretty sweat hat. So,
Why
without
don't
further
you
ado,
why don't you stand up and give us a little spin there? You got some are those suspenders or what you wearing? What you Oh my gosh. Look at
so
this guy.
my sister, my sister, we'll call her Lolo, Lolo. She goes to the
Lolo.
University of Iowa. This is a shout out to Lolo. I told her about the podcast that we started, and she's like, "I work at the bookstore. Do you want one of do you want some of those bibs that they wear at the game day?" And I was like, "Yeah. How fast can you get them here?" So, I'm wearing them, and I might just continue to wear them because they're college football related. I probably should get a pair of the Vols ones. I think it's pretty.
Well,
They're
I was
fairly
gonna say
common.
the lighting makes the yellow and the orange is very similar in
Yeah.
your current lighting. So I think you could probably just play them off as Tennessee Orange and just say that
Okay.
it's the Lightning, and we'll go with that.
Okay.
So,
Sounds good to me. Go
as
Balls,
you
go Hawkeyes.
little bit of breaking news other than the NFC runs through Philly. We started out this podcast, honestly, I don't know. We had a vision, but we were more ready, set, or ready, fire, aim than, hey, this is the exact thing we want to do. We are in a campus to Canton league, and so we're like, oh, let's start a fantasy podcast. Those of you who have been following along, I don't know if any of our consistent listeners, commenters are out there, but we tend to rabbit trail, and it can be difficult for us to stay in a straight line. And so, as of this evening, as of going forward, we are going to expand our podcast, not just to be a fantasy football podcast. We're still going to stay mostly in the football lane. I would say in the off season, even those limitations might be stretched. Sidebar: one time for my birthday, I was blindfolded, driven 3 hours across the state to my best friend's favorite sport, which is hockey. And so that's how good of a friend that he is. No, still to this day, one of my favorite birthday memories, and like not what I would have chosen, but NHL hockey live is incredible. And so,
Well, here, Kevin,
highly
if our listeners do not have a best friend who have blindfolded their best friend and surprised them by taking them to an event they actually wanted to go to, I don't even know if they're friends.
yeah,
So
I don't even think you're living. So highly
you're not
recommend
even
it.
alive.
Yeah, so we're just going to expand our range to, you have the fantasy football shows like the Footballers, ESPN's Fantasy Focus, even the Campus to Canton fellas are like exclusively fantasy football shows. We are going to talk fantasy football. We're also going to talk football as a whole, college football. Um, we might get into still high school recruiting, transfer portal. During the regular season, we're definitely going to talk more fantasy football than in the off season. Like, it's a little bit difficult to talk fantasy football right now because we can talk dynasty and we will get into some of that, but it's going to take the pressure off of us to only talk fantasy football and to say, hey, we want to cover all aspects of football. We love all the levels. Shoot, this spring we might even get a UFL, little mono dynasty league of the UFL going. So, on that note, we are still planning to start a listener league. We're probably about halfway full, maybe a third of the way full. I think Book's trying to go for an 18 teamer, which is a little bit bonkers, but hey, we've got to aim big here. So we'll have some more more spots we'll fill out with that, and maybe as soon as tonight. If you're out there, you want to be a part of that, let us know in the chat, and maybe we'll give away a spot here this evening. So anything else? Did I hit that pretty well as far as our breaking news as a podcast? Was that clear? Anything you want to add to that as well?
Yeah, it was very clear. I do want to add that like something that Kevin and I just thoroughly enjoy is interacting with people who are listening and enjoy sports or college football or NFL. Like we'll have an opinion about anything that's happening that day, but when someone jumps on and like has an opinion as well, we love to talk. We love to like answer questions, and so we might start doing like X spaces or taking phone calls. Like we're flexible, so we're just trying to see where we fit and land, and we just enjoy doing this. So yeah, that's one piece of it, and the other piece is like, I mean, college football ends, NFL ends shortly, but we might do a March Madness bracket where like the winner, we might do a bracket where it's a championship hat. That might be our thing where we're just giving things away as people join competitions. So
a bad day hat, not just any hat. A bad day.
Not just any hat.
Bad day, is that right?
Bad day hat co.
I need to get me one of those bad day hat co's. Not a sponsor, but if they want to be, we're open.
We are.
No, I think you crushed it. And then one other housekeeping note: we are going to start. The podcast has been coming out like sometimes Tuesdays, sometimes Wednesdays. we're gonna shorten that window and gonna push really hard. Another interception for the Commanders. Yo, man, I love you guys. I love you guys. I love this team. Ben Johnson. I'm like butchering a Dan Campbell right now, but
Wow.
anyway,
that was beautiful.
yeah. Anyway, so we are going to release the podcast. I'm going to try and do my best to edit it right after the show, release it. You can look for it Sunday mornings. It'll be a little more timely if we're talking about things happening. Hey, the divisional round predicting tomorrow. You guys can listen to that, within the same time frame. If it comes out on Wednesday, let's be honest, I wouldn't even listen to that if it was talking divisional football. So we're growing. We're open to input. That's not necessarily input from somebody, but just something we're growing, and we're trying to continue to build this and find our way as we enjoy the journey. So, all right, without further ado, wow, we got 14 seconds, 13. The Commanders are in the NFC Championship. Now, Kevin, you might say, why does your tagline here say NFC runs through Philly? Well, Mr. Booker, that is because Philly is now the highest seed. And so if they win tomorrow, which handle your business, I might sleep in this jersey tonight. I'm not sure yet, but I'll have to at least take the hoodie off. But if we handle our business tomorrow, then we got the home game coming to Philadelphia to go to the Super Bowl. And so I'm hyped. I honestly, this is a win-win, lose-lose game because I'm like, I don't know if I want to play a divisional opponent again, but also, did you really want to go into Detroit? Maybe we did want to go into Detroit with how bad they look today. So they can't play defense. I'm quite confident that our defense is going to show up a little bit better than what was displayed. Jaden Daniels is legit. But yeah, let's just jump into that game. So the box score, let me just update that. Did you watch? Let's start with the Commanders Lions. And let me just update this box score. You watched the game. Let us know, do we have any Lions? Any Lions or Texans fans listening? We would love to hear your opinion, how you feeling. The finality of the football season just hits so hard, that it's over. And so it is a brutal, it's a brutal part, but also the thing that we love. So it's crazy. At 9:50 in the game, it was 38-28, and then it finished. Sorry, just a little bit of housekeeping here. Finished 45-28. So
to 31. To 31.
31. Why did that not? Okay, don't trust.
Yeah.
A professional.
You there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm trying to load my box score.
No worries. So
can you hear me now?
Oh, okay. I can hear you now. And go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so like this game was, again, no defense. Not no defense, 3 interceptions. So clearly people were playing defense. It just didn't seem like quality defense. I think it was bad Jared Goff more than like good. What am I trying to say? Commanders. But I'm not going to discredit the Commanders. They are, they got the rookie quarterback, so I feel like that is going to make a lot of people like, oh, how far can they actually go? And my worst case scenario would be the Eagles lose to the Commanders, and then the Commanders play the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. It just like that was honestly why I was sort of cheering for the Lions, because I'm like, okay, the Eagles and the Lions are the best teams to to hopefully dethrone the Chiefs. Now I hope that happens before the Super Bowl, but honestly, after today and those refs, we'll get into that in a little bit. But what are your thoughts on this game? 45-31. We knew it was going to be high scoring. We probably thought that the score would be flip flopped. Probably the Lions would be on the 45 and not the 31. What are your thoughts on this game?
Well, I only watched a little bit of it. Congratulations to the Washington Commanders. It's been 33 years. I'm 34, so it's been 33 years since they've been in the NFC Championship game. So congratulations. That's a big deal. Jaden Daniels looks to have played pretty well. I mean, the fact that he was their second leading rusher behind Brian Robinson, but then obviously, I mean, he threw for 2 touchdowns and just under 300 yards. I think the interesting thing to me is that Diami Brown was the leading receiver for the Washington Commanders. He had 6 for 98. Yeah, one thing that I do want to point out, though, Marcus Mariota, he had 1 rush for -1 yard. Let's talk about that.
Did you watch the play?
No, I have no
idea. It was a
what
horrendous play call. Like, when I saw that play, I was like, the Commanders don't have it. They're not going to win this game. It was like a 4th and 1. They motioned. I think it was supposed to be like a fake quarterback sneak or a fake tush push tossed to Jaden Daniels. Maybe he runs it. Maybe he throws it. I'm not exactly sure, but it seemed like Mariota went in motion, like teams have been doing with the tight ends, and pulls up quick behind center, snaps it. He goes to like it again. He looked like he turned to like he was going to get the ball to Jaden Daniels, and they were trying to do eye candy. His own teammate runs into him, and so it just and then he's like, "Oh man, this is not working. I'm going to fall forward," and it was just the whole thing. I'm like, just line up and like again, that's the beauty. Some people hate the tush push that the Eagles do, but like the beauty of it is like it's coming. And then, they did the fake last time and it didn't hit. But again, Jason Kelsey, he's the 92%er originator here. But you line up, you do your quarterback sneak, and you just cannot stop it, even though you know it's coming. And so too many teams are getting cute with it. It's like just it's will against will. Man meat versus man meat. Who's going to win? And so, anyway, you try to get too cute, and that's the -1 yard there. But they rebounded. Jaden Daniels is a beast.
What about Jahmyr Gibbs, man? You know what I saw?
Yeah.
Like, so Jahmyr Gibbs, 14 for 105 and 2 touchdowns, but he also had 6 receptions for 70 yards. I saw some comparisons on X before jumping on. It was like, hey, does Jahmyr Gibbs remind you of Barry Sanders? Now, I don't remember watching Barry Sanders. I think he retired before I don't know what year he retired, but I don't remember watching him. Yeah, highlights, I guess. Do you have any thoughts on that, or anyone listening? You have thoughts on whether that's a viable comparison?
Yeah, I don't know. Like stylistically, I think Barry was probably a little bit bigger. But man, the run that sticks out in my mind is Gibbs ran into the hole, ran to the B gap or wherever he was supposed to go, and is like, oh snap, this is not working. Like turns to go backwards out of like the gap, runs it to the outside, and like, you know what, I can outrun all of these guys. And it was just to watch it live. I'm like, wow, this guy is on ice skates, and everybody else's tennis shoes are tied together. So, yeah, I walked away. Again, we're going to dabble some fantasy football. I walked away saying, man, in our listener league, I'm going hard after Gibbs. I don't know, like in our campus account that we're currently in, it's like I don't think he's going to trade. The guy who has him, I don't think will trade with me. And so, but I'm like, man, I want to offer up like Bijan, but I don't like. Again, that's an old show of 1-for-1 type trades. But I'm like, man, Gibbs is going to put up like I want to say like the closest thing to prime CMC since that, like the elite rushing, the elite touchdowns, the pass catching, and on a loaded offense. It's not like, oh man, there's so many weapons. He's not no like there's so many weapons, and I think Detroit knows this is the best weapon of them all. Like this guy is different than everyone else, and so Lions fans, I know you're probably incredibly disappointed with Super Bowl hopes and dreams. But you got a guy in Gibbs, and I don't know. Let me look up if David Montgomery is under contract next year. I think he is. I think he signed like a multi-year deal with them. No, he signed a 2-year. either way, I imagine Montgomery is going to come back. He is so ingrained in the culture of that team that I think they like the Sonic and Knuckles, the 1-2 punch. But again, it doesn't matter if I think they have all taken a step where they're like, oh, Gibbs is that dude. Where up until this point, it's kind of been Montgomery is the Thunder, Montgomery's the 1A, Gibbs is a change of pace. I think they've figured out like Gibbs is that dude.
Yeah. Yeah. And Jamison Williams kind of like, I mean, there's something to look forward to there. He looks different after, I mean, he had some troubles the past few years. I think with disciplinary and behavior stuff, but this past year, I feel like he really had, I mean, he's not Amon-Ra St. Brown, but he's got some wheels, man. I don't know if you saw that play that ended with the most explicit touchdown celebration I've ever seen. But he's got some wheels.
I don't know if I might have missed the touchdown celebration, which now I'm questioning that I let my 6-year-old watch part of this game without me. But all right, let's move along. Where we're at here, we're at 21. Okay, again, let us know, Lions fans, if you're out there, if you're just joining now. Yeah, we're bummed for you guys. I'm only so bummed because like I'm an Eagles fan, so like you needed to be eliminated to get where I'm trying to go. But yeah, let us know in the chat, Lions, Texans fans. Let's go ahead and transition into that Texans game.
Before we do, can I say just one last thing about that Lions game?
That's your thing, dude.
It's that's right, my thing. I'll just like stop you. It comes
kind of your thing. I'm like landing the jet plane, and you're like, but one more thing. No, but you're good.
Sorry,
go ahead. It's
sometimes I don't know when to jump in. So all I want to say
interrupt.
is, Detroit Lions fans, just sleep on it. Give yourself a couple days before you decide to do anything dumb to Dan Campbell. Give the guy a break, okay? It's just football. Tough loss though, but
here's the bad news for you, Lions fans. You're probably losing both of your coordinators. Schefter came out the other day and said both Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn are getting jobs. So like that's brutal. And again, the Eagles went through that after the 2022 Super Bowl, but like, hey, we got to the Super Bowl. So to lose in the divisional round and most likely lose your coaches is, pretty brutal. But I'm confident that Dan Campbell, his connections to the NFL, he obviously brought these guys in, and that's what gives me confidence with Sirianni. It's like I don't want to lose Kellen Moore, but he's shown that he can bring in quality coordinators. I do think Dan Campbell can do that. I think he can bring in talented coaches. At one point, Deuce Staley, I believe, was there. I'm getting rabbit trailed here. I don't need to do that. He was coaching there. I'd love to see him get an OC shot. I think he would understand that Dan Campbell culture. But yeah, let's wrap up the Lions. Other than if there's any Lions fans in the chat and you wanna let it out, we'll give you the comments are all yours, and we can't help ourselves but respond to the comments. So. All right, let's move along. Excuse me. All right, so Texans, Chiefs.
I don't even have that. I'm not even sure I want to. I'm not sure I want to say anything. I am so over the Kansas City Chiefs, and like watching Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and the way they both act on the football field, and then like looking at, let's say, Josh Allen and Dalton Kincaid. It's just like there's just such a difference in like, I don't know. I just can't stand that. I cannot stand that, and I can't even put my finger on what that is. But they have it, and so do the refs. So
yeah, I was talking to my brother-in-law about like, I think not just us, but I think a consensus is that like people hate the Chiefs more than the Patriots. Like growing up, nobody liked the Patriots unless you're from Massachusetts or unless you're from Kansas City, then yes. And that's not even true because people are on the bandwagon of the Chiefs. But in general, most of the populace of football fans do not like the Chiefs, and I would say I don't like the Chiefs more than I didn't like the Patriots, and which pains me because I love Andy Reid. Yeah, I love Andy Reid, but I'm like, your quarterback, you're just the I don't know, man. And you'll jump on the refs train way more than I will. I like to think. I like to think in the purity of the game that, like, oh, the
Oh,
refs
that's
are
gone.
controlling it. X is a dark place tonight. Of people are already spinning narratives of like it's rigged. Like the Rams are going to win tomorrow, so the Rams can host a playoff game and a tribute to LA and the Fires. I'm like, that might be true, but Saquon's about to run wild. So like, I don't know. Is the NFL rigged? I can't. I can't be a diehard fan and believe that it's rigged. Like that would just. So I need smoking gun. But watching the Chiefs is pretty darn close. I would have to
That's
say.
as close to a smoking gun as you can get. And but you know what? Like on the to be fair to the Chiefs, there were some wildly, I mean, some just missed opportunities. Kai Fairbairn, he missed a field goal
No, no, no.
and then no, two field goals. No, he got one blocked, he missed one, and then he missed an extra point. And so like that you're just leaving like that is a touchdown.
But
It's a touchdown.
but you can't kick a 55-yard field goal in the wind at Arrowhead
Yeah.
on like
Yeah.
fourth and I don't know, it was like 4th and 6, 4th and 4. Like either have the stones to go for it, Dan Campbell style, or punt it away and try to pin them deep. And worst case, you give them the ball on the 25-yard line because you can't pin them. Um, to say, we're going to kick 55-yard field goal into the wind, like that ball wasn't even close. I mean, it was
No.
probably like 50 yards away from the uprights. I'm like, what are you even sending your kicker out there for? So it just, and then the extra, was it the, oh no, it was the field goal at the end. That
It was
one, I
blocked.
could tell I was in his head. And you know why it was blocked? Because he hit a low line drive kick, like he was kicking from 60, because he was afraid of the wind. But like when you're close, and I'm not a kicker, I don't know how field goal kickers work, but I get trajectories. And so when you're close, you can kick it higher because you don't have to worry about the wind as much. When you're from 60, you need to hit that thing line drive because you got to get the distance. He kicked it like a 60-yarder. And it's like, extra point. I mean, that was closer than an extra point, and it got blocked. I'm like, you can't.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, again, the Chiefs are the stinking, and that's why we don't like them, because they're so like seemingly lucky. It's like, how do you not get the Ram or the Ravens or the Bills in this round? Like for the Ravens and the Bills to have to fight it out tomorrow to go to Arrowhead is like, my biggest takeaway from that game is that the Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl.
Oh no.
That's one game to make it to the Super Bowl against Lamar, or so let's go this question. So I don't know. We can go box score on this one, but I think we're both kind of depressed on it. I'll just touch on it quick. This was kind of a vintage Kelsey game, 7 for 117 and a touchdown. Kareem Hunt had a touchdown. Nico was playing, but Nico was hurt. I didn't see what happened. Did you see what happened with Nico? That he was kind of in and out of the.
I didn't see. I didn't see, but he was in and out. But he had a few nice grabs.
And the interesting thing is, when he was in the game, it seemed like Stroud was force feeding it to him. Now, again, I was watching the game, like, wow, Stroud's out there throwing to like Hutchinson, not Aiden, some other guy named Hutchinson. With all respect, I have no idea who you are. Number 14, again, I don't know who. You know how I know number 14? He's a guy who tore out Tank Dell's knee. That's how I was introduced to number 14. And so I'm like, again, no disrespect. You didn't mean it. It wasn't an intentional thing, but it's like he's out there with a bunch of ragtag guys. So it's tough when you're force feeding it to Dell, or sorry, you're force feeding it to Collins, and he's hobbled and double covered. I'm like, somebody's got to figure something out there, So anyway, the Chiefs, one game one game away from the Super Bowl to three-peat. I don't think that they're going to come in and like, what am I trying to say? Like choke it away, or oh, they're going to be nervous. It's like no, they're not. You have to beat the Chiefs. So my question for you is, again, diehard Bills fan, are the Ravens or are the Bills more equipped to beat the Chiefs? Not go in there and hang around till the fourth quarter. You need to go in there like, spoiler alert, like the Bills did earlier this year and like took it to them. And honestly, the Chiefs are not built to get into a shootout this year. Now I think they can if they had to, but you can't be playing it safe against the Chiefs. Like you play it safe, you hope for the fourth quarter you're going to lose. Like
Mhm.
whether it's the refs or they're going to find, you're going to lose that game. So who do you think is more equipped, the Ravens or the Bills?
I think actually, surprisingly, maybe as a Bills fan, I do believe the Ravens probably have the more complete team. But against Mahomes at Arrowhead, I don't trust Lamar. I actually think that Josh Allen not having the weapons this year that he had last year and what he's been able to do, I think that he has a bit more. I don't know. I think he's just got a bit more like just stability with like mental stability. Like I Lamar is such a stud, but it seems like he's been. I don't want to like hold all of his playoff games against him, but when games get really, really big, and it doesn't get much bigger, I think it doesn't get much bigger than going into Arrowhead, other than the Super Bowl, going into the Arrowhead for the AFC Championship game. That's like as big as you get before you head to New Orleans, and I just don't know that. I don't know that Lamar's got it, but it's helpful to have Derrick Henry. I will still pull for the Bills tomorrow because I think the Bills. I think either team could have a pretty solid chance because the Chiefs are just they're not what they've been, but they're
Yeah.
still winning. So it's like the win is ripe for the picking. They just like people just cannot get it done. So
Would you say the Ravens or the Bills have a better O line?
mm.
I don't know the answer to that offhand.
Oh, that's a
Because
hard one.
Houston got cooked today. They got cooked. You can't give up 8 sacks and
Mm.
expect to win a playoff game, especially down the stretch. It's like down the stretch, your quarterback has no chance. He's looking down at the rush. He's not looking downfield to make plays. And so,
Mhm.
um,
Well, I guess I don't actually know that, but I know that like James Cook has had a career year, and so
yeah,
has Derrick Henry. So I think they have a pretty good O line, and I don't think either quarterback has been sacked a ton either. So maybe someone on this podcast knows the answer to that, and I could also just Google it. But I think they both have pretty solid O lines. I think O line is definitely the weakness of the Texans, um, and that was shown today certainly. So
yeah.
um,
I'm on Pro Football Network, and no disrespect, guys. When I go to O line and the Denver Broncos are your highest ranked, I'm like, I don't know. I mean, they had a good year. I don't know if I'm going to put their again. It's biased because I'm an Eagles fan, but I'm like, there's not an O line. Like, if you don't start this conversation with Detroit and Philly, then you're not. You're just like those two O lines are clearly the best. They do have Baltimore number two. Um,
well, there you go.
they have Kansas City. Kansas City. I was looking for the Bills. Jeez, these guys are Eagles haters. They've got the Commanders ranked higher. Okay, I'm getting off this website because that's just
That's just
insanity.
that's just pissing you off.
Yeah, I think that blitz that would be an interesting study as well of like which of these teams like Spags is going to bring. Again, I don't want to hate the Chiefs. Like I heard him say it today. Like Spagnola is like a Jim Johnson protege, which like again my childhood. Andy Reid, Jim Johnson. Like I love that style of defense. Trotter, Dawkins, just blitzing, hunting, eating people. Like that was
Mhm.
awesome. I don't want to see that from the Chiefs and Mahomes is the problem. Let me just turn this off. It's like look over and like some random shows playing after the football game. Um, So sorry, you were kind of leaning the Ravens might match up better, but the Bills, or sorry, the Bills might
I think the
match up
Bills
better.
take it. I think the Bills take it, even though the Ravens on paper should take it. And I did find out as of, let's see here, 2 days ago, the Bills have the third best pass block win rate. They've only given up 16 sacks, which is the fewest sacks in the NFL, and it's the
Okay,
fewest sacks
that's
in a
good.
season for Josh Allen. So
Yeah,
that's important.
yeah. I think that's credit to both of these teams. And Stroud is mobile. I like seeing him use his legs. I think he tweaked his ankle or something, so that was probably affecting him a little bit late in the game. But he's not mobile like Lamar or as big as Josh Allen. So that will definitely help. Um,
I
I
think the
think,
difference in that game, though, is the Ravens' defense. The Ravens' defense is far and away a better defense than
but
the Bills' defense has been
yeah,
so
they're
shaky.
playing better as of late. But like earlier in the year, they could stop the run and they couldn't stop the pass. I think they've balanced out a little better. But like, I don't know if that Ravens defense in name value is still high. In actual like production, I'm not so sure.
Well,
They
it's
still
supposed to
have
be a really cold game tomorrow, though. And
yeah,
Kyron Williams for the Rams ran all over the Bills.
yep,
So I'm not sure there's going to be a tons of passes thrown tomorrow, which
yeah,
plays I think that's favorable for the Ravens.
yeah. No, I think I agree that like having Derrick Henry should be like you brought him in for a reason. They were a Zay Flowers catch away or fumble away from probably winning that game last year. That was at home in Baltimore, so like I do trust Justin Allen, Josh Allen, who has lost in Kansas City before, to go in. He's lost in the playoffs. He understands that environment. I'd have to look it up if Lamar's played in the playoffs in Kansas City. I want to say yes, like maybe 2 years ago or three. Um, but yeah, part of me leans that way as well, where I'm like, I think the Ravens probably beat the Bills, but I think Josh Allen has that like chip on his shoulder. Um, but again, it doesn't make any sense for the Bills to like but that's almost what makes their offense good is there's no like a one person you can stop. It's just Josh Allen dealing to whoever is open, and he's playing best ball of his career. So I'm excited for the game tomorrow. I can't possibly be more excited for that game than the Eagles game, but like I'm very it's gonna be a great day of football. So
Yeah,
um
absolutely.
okay, so let's get your official prediction. Let me see here. Yeah. So who wins the game? You're picking the Bills.
I'm picking the Bills for that game, and then I'm also obviously picking the Eagles for the earlier game. Not just because of you either, but I think it's
Yeah.
going to be the Bills Eagles in the Super Bowl. So we're calling it.
I need that. I need that. Um, America needs that. Okay. Inauguration
American
day coming up. America needs
Mur.
needs Bills Eagles fans smashing tables and a whole lot of other things. New Orleans is not ready for that. New Orleans is like we want the Commanders and the Chiefs. That's what we want for our city to not, burn to the ground.
Yeah,
Uh, okay, yeah, I'm gonna lean that way. I'm picking a little bit with my heart, but I think this. I thought this was interesting. The ESPN matchup predictor percentage, which again I don't trust, but I just thought it was crazy. Like 50.3% Bills, 49.7 Ravens. The spread is 1 point, so it's not like again we don't really talk much in gambling type of stuff, but a 1 point spread is like okay, this is a pick 'em, this is a money line, this is like hey, who's going to win the game? You can't, you're not going to tie, so somebody's going to win by 1 point, and yeah, so it's going to be a heck of a game. I'm
yeah, it is.
excited for it.
Go
All
Bills.
right, chat's a little empty tonight. I know we're Lightmore, TL, our boy Wilson. Well, so let's touch quickly college football tomorrow night.
No, not tomorrow night. Monday night.
Monday night. We already previewed the game last week a little bit. You still leaning Ohio State, yeah, you're still leaning Ohio State.
I think Ohio State's going to win it. I am going to poll for Notre Dame, but what I am going to say, the only thing I'm holding on to, is that even if Ohio State wins, and they have the national championship, there's some boys in Ann Arbor who are leaning back saying, we beat the national championship team at home this year. So Michigan's still, they've got that over them. And that's the only thing that makes me feel okay about Ohio State winning, because I don't want to see Ryan Day lifting that trophy. I don't want to see Quinshon Judkins lifting that trophy. I just don't like Ohio State. So go Notre Dame, but realistically, Ohio State has been a buzzsaw. So what about you?
Yeah, I'd say the same. I think Ohio State is going to handle business, but I don't know. Maybe Marcus Freeman is, he gets Notre Dame over that hump. I think when they had Chip Kelly or their previous coaches, it was a lot easier to say like, they made it. That's cute, but they're going to get hammered. But I think, he is a good coach, and so it might be a closer game than what we think. But I saw a post the other day where it was like Tate. What's it? Carnell Tate, is that his name?
Yeah.
It's like the third wide receiver for Ohio State, and like 600 yards, 5 touchdowns, like just an abundance of riches. So, yeah, I think Ohio State should and probably will win this game.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, let's again, we won't go. We're going to wrap up here shortly. Let's go through. We didn't quite get fully into our 20 questions last week, so let's just go through some of these. See where it lands us. Again, if you're listening, drop us a comment. Let us know who you're cheering for this weekend. If you're a disgruntled Lions fan or Texans fan, if there's Texans fans out there, let us know how you doing. Now that your team's eliminated, can you cheer for another, or are you just like, I'm done? I gotta shut it down. And tell us why your team's going to win the Super Bowl next year. Any of those things, we'd love to hear from you guys. Drop a comment. All right, let's go. All right, back to NFL. So, which NFL player is going to have the biggest impact tomorrow? Rams, Eagles, Bills, Ravens. Who come Sunday night is going to be like, wow, they had a game? Who do you think it will be?
That's a challenging one for me, because I so desperately want the Bills to win. So you have the early game, you've got Jalen Hurts, then you've got Matthew Stafford. Cooper Kupp hasn't done much. Puka Nacua, I think he's still. They're both studs. Kyron Williams, but that Eagles defense is legit. And then on the other side of the ball, Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. I think Saquon in that. So for that early game, I'm going Saquon. In the late game, and then I'll compare the two. In the late game, I think I'm going with Dalton Kincaid. And then between Saquon Barkley and, because I think Dalton Kincaid, like that. Oh man, he has not had it. That's the thing, he's not had an incredible year. He's had a dud of a year, considering where people probably drafted them in their fantasy drafts. But I just think in a cold and snowy, like, he's just a big target, and he does have soft hands. I think that he has a game tomorrow that people are like, oh, he finally showed up. That's what I think.
He hasn't had over. He hasn't had. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're good.
Like the last time he had over 5 catches, so 6 catches, October 14th against the Jets. So
Till
I
tomorrow.
hear you. Yeah, maybe the breakout comes tomorrow. You never know. I just it's hard to, Nick Sirianni has been saying like, hey, you don't make it to the playoffs, and then all of a sudden like, hey, let's do all kinds of new stuff, and maybe I don't know. I wasn't following the Lions closely enough to know like, hey, were they doing all kinds of trick new plays, where it's like the Lions should have almost come out and ran the ball like 60 times, like just
Yeah.
enforce your will on the game. And they got into a track meet, and I don't think Jaden Daniels is the guy you want to get into a track meet with. Like, he's quite comfortable putting up a lot of points. Like, yeah, the Detroit Lions ran the ball 23 times for 200 yards. Like, run the ball 35 times. And what does this game look like?
Yeah. Just going back to the Lions.
Yeah, going back to there. Well, I don't know why we got there. You were saying Saquon, Kincaid, do what brought you here, and so I don't think Kincaid has brought them here. Is why it's possible. Sure, he's got a breakout game there, but I think that the Bills are probably. I think I would go James Cook on the breakout game, over Kincaid, but. If I had to pick one player for all of tomorrow, I'm going to go. I think I'll go A.J. Brown. I think he has. I think he's going to be hard to tackle in the snow. I think he's going to take a slant or two to the house. He's big, he's strong, and like his straight line speed partner with his physicality is like a problem. And I have a feeling, I don't know, growing up in Pennsylvania, like and everywhere that they predict weather, like it's never right. And so there's so much hype on this being a snow game. I could see it being like a few flurries and just freezing cold. And so either way, I'm hoping for a snow globe, because that doesn't happen very often in Los Angeles. I think that favors the home team. But yeah, I'm going to go with A.J. Brown to kind of shut up the haters. I saw that he met the Inner Excellence or whatever that book he was reading. He met the author, like came to their. Did you see that? He got the guy's book to #1 on Amazon. So just the NFL is a marketing machine.
Man, like literally like
All right.
12 seconds of airtime, and that book
Yeah.
is like an Amazon bestseller. We need to buy him just a little like TSP hat and just see if he'll wear it for 12 seconds.
Yeah. So a hat from
Bad Day Co.
Not a sponsor, but they
Bad
could
Day
be.
Hat Co.
Could be.
It could be.
Okay, so I posted this earlier. I'll get your take. I was roasting Cade McNamara, and I don't know if you saw that or not, but you saw my poll. Okay, so my question was, and this is, we're going back to college here. So Cade McNamara transferred to Eastern Tennessee State University, Johnson City, Tennessee. I think we've both been there. Have you been there? I've for sure been there a couple times. Beautiful place, hills of Tennessee. Is that the Tri-Cities, right? Knoxville, Johnson City, Memphis. No, not Memphis. Memphis is left.
That's a good question.
Where's
I
our
don't
Tennessee
remember. I'd have to look at
people
the map. I know about Knoxville.
Okay,
I know about Knoxville.
I'm going for the map. I'm pretty sure it's the Tri-Cities with Knoxville. I love maps and I love this kind of stuff. So, like, if I'm watching a show and it says like a location of like some random town in Russia, like a shoot 'em up war movie, if it says like whatever Stan Russia, I'm like, oh, I'm looking that up. Like, I don't know. I just love seeing where things are at on maps.
Yeah.
I'm a weirdo.
You are
okay. So
weird.
the Tri-Cities is Kingsport, Johnson City, Bristol. So not quite Knox Vegas. That's a little more central. Anyway, Cade McNamara going to ETSU. He's going to be selling insurance in 2026. We do know that. So in 2025, this coming season, their quarterback last year played 10 games. He threw for 1,536 yards, 9 touchdowns. We see you, Ryan Lightmore, 11 INTs, 422 rush yards, and 5 rushing touchdowns. My question on X with 65 votes so far, booming. Does McNamara exceed that, or does he go? It was just an over/under on those stats. Because the main thing I was looking it up because I was like, maybe ETSU was like a spread air raid, like he wants to boost his NFL stock, and I'm like, nope, like this is just one last ride. I want to play football before I sell insurance. So over or under, what are you taking, and what do you think the poll is saying right now?
Welcome, Ryan Lightmore. Good to see you, man. Thanks for joining us. I think he does exceed it, but I also think there's like a great chance that he just likes that area of the country and wants to build his connections so that he can sell insurance in 2026 and kind of have a head start, and that's why he's going to ETSU. But I do think he exceeds it. So he was at Iowa this last year, and I mean I don't think he did that great, but prior to that, where was McNamara at?
Michigan.
That's right.
He was Harbaugh's guy. I think he got benched for JJ, right?
I think so. Yeah. So I think he'll go over that. I don't know that. I don't know how you could.
What do you think he threw for this year for Iowa? What do you think his passing total was?
34 yards.
1,000, like 1,056 or something, and maybe some injuries, or I think he got benched probably. Again, we don't follow. Oh, you better start following Iowa football. Why don't you stand up and do another pirouette for Ryan Lightmore and anybody else joining us? Check out Booker's fit tonight. His
That's
sister
for you, Ryan Lightmore.
Is a future alum of the Iowa Hawkeyes, and so it's fitting that we're talking. You know, when you want to talk about exciting football scoring, you want to talk Iowa Hawkeyes.
Well, that's the thing, though.
Anyway,
Cade McNamara, he didn't have like Iowa doesn't. They run the ball. They run the ball. So I mean, like, how could he have a great passing year? So maybe that's why he moved. Well, no, because you said that ETSU does not have a wide, a stable of wide receivers that they like to spread out. So
he has to have graduated by now. So I think you're right. I think it's a connections thing, maybe a graduate assistant coaching job next year, something like that. Because like their NIL money is nothing. So like you're only going there because you have some sort of connection to the area. I wonder if he's from. Okay, one more thing, and then we're going to move on from Cade McNamara because why are we spending more time on this? No, he was born and raised Reno, Nevada. So
pretty far away.
It's truly random. Maybe the ETSU boosters collective is strong, and they're going to go on a Signetti type rise next year. We don't know. All right, let's keep going here.
Ryan, you're absolutely right, man. That hospital tradition is, I think, the best tradition in college football. Do you know about that, Kev?
Oh yeah.
I love
Excellent.
that. I love that. So
it's a good one.
All right. So moving on.
I just saw the take the food off of somebody's buffet. You're still out of control for that question. That was last week. I'm thinking we're just going through our little bit of our 20 questions. We were talking some NFL stuff. Again, if you guys have any questions or thoughts on the games tomorrow, we already covered that, but let us know who you think is going to have a big impact on tomorrow night's and day's game. Obviously, you know who I'm riding with. Probably going to sleep in this jersey tonight. NFC Championship goes through Philly, man. I'm freaking hyped. Let's do this one. I don't think we touched on this. Who should be the NCAA football commissioner? If you had to pick one person, who would you put in charge?
Cade McNamara.
And do they not need him? Do they not need a commissioner?
Is the NFC North the SEC of the NFL? Ah, that's a good question. What do you think? You probably, in your
Nah,
opinion, you think so?
no, I don't think.
No, you don't. Okay.
Not really. I mean, just hard. It just four team divisions versus like 18.
That's true.
It's just a hard comparison. But
Yeah.
he's
Um,
trolling. I think he's trolling the SEC and going. Maybe he's going. I don't know, because he might be that they didn't show up in the playoffs. So I'm tracking where like the NFC East is more the Big Ten showing up in the playoffs. So it's fair. They all had good seasons except for the Bears. But just came up short in the playoffs. So I can respect the comparison. I like that. Back to the commissioner. Do we need one? And who do you think it should be?
I don't get. I don't. This may be ignorant of me. I don't really get too much into the
Playoffs.
politics, into the politics of like the NCAA and whether a commissioner is needed or not. But hear me out on this. Are you ready? You're going to laugh at first, but hear me out on this. So Rob Gronkowski. Let me tell you about this dude.
As commissioner, or did you just hijack this question? You said we're talking about something else.
No. Okay, like I don't have a dog in this fight. I don't know, but something that
Okay.
that I really respect about Rob Gronkowski is, did you know that he only lived, or he still only lives off money that he makes from like commercials or like branding? All of the football money that he made went into investments. Like he just saved it. So you may think he's just an airhead, but the dude's pretty fiscally responsible.
Yeah.
So maybe he'd be just a great NFL commissioner, but
NCAA,
also
yeah.
maybe not NCAA commissioner.
Yeah, he would be wanting to like party with the colleges. So because an NCAA commissioner would be out of control. So I for fun factor, it would certainly, for figuring out all this NIL stuff. Maybe there's a savage businessman in there, but did you actually the Gronk family was on Shark Tank? Did you know that? Yeah, his brothers are like, I don't know, they were selling like a protein shaker bottle or something, just classic Gronkowski. But yeah, they the whole family I think is pretty entrepreneurial and seem to be pretty good head on their shoulders. But yeah, come across like, I Gronk, I spike ball, but Gronk is a legend.
Busted.
All right. I'm not sure who I would say it should be. I think they do need somebody. They need somebody to be the bad guy, somebody to hold the SEC, but the SEC, the Big Ten, all these conferences, like they just need somebody to like point the ship in a direction. The one problem I see is, yes, like this ruling that's coming out in April, and I haven't looked into it, but like you hear the number $20 million. The problem is that 20 million is going to like all of sports, and so like our schools going to be able to like, hey, Alabama, we care about football. We're going to do 19.5 to the football team. The other 5 goes to women's lacrosse and field hockey and men's basketball. Or can they, hey, we care more, we're Duke, we care about basketball, we're going to put the money there. Like, I'm not sure how that all works. I almost think NCAA football needs to break off from the NCAA. What are your thoughts on that? John Gruden. Yeah.
John Gruden.
Yeah, go ahead.
To just answer about Gronk being a moron, he might be, but a man who listens to advisors, I actually have some respect. When you play at that high of a level and you make that kind of money and you've worked that hard to get there, if you're willing to listen to the people around you about how you should spend your money, there's some wisdom in that, even if he has a hard time tying his own shoe. So I'll just say that.
Yeah. No, I hear you on that.
I didn't even get your question.
John Gruden.
I was just over there.
Yeah, John Gruden, though, I think he's coming back out with those quarterback camps. I love those things, man. I love watching him just like light up an 18-year-old, 22-year-old on how to be an NFL quarterback. I just think it was, yeah. Just the clips that I've seen, I'm like, oh man, I forgot about this show. Like, I hope that they are releasing more because Gruden needs to be doing that, or like, I'd love to see him back in coaching. I don't know if he loves. I think he loves the X's and O's of football more than he would like the politics of being a commissioner. I think you need someone who can like understands the legal, but also can deal with all these personalities. And you know, I don't
Yep.
know. We'll see whatever comes of it. But okay, so let's finish here. And again, we're going to keep it somewhat short tonight. I guess we're already an hour in, so we're not really that short. But the Steelers, and I'm not going to go even Mike Tomlin. Should we fire Mike Tomlin or not? Because I just think that's like you're such like if you're a Steelers fan and you think that you should fire Tomlin, just think about what could be on the other side. Like you could be the Browns on the other side. And so you've had this like beacon of consistency and you want to throw it away for a shiny toy. Well, what if that shiny toy stinks? Anyway, you can feel free to add your point to that. My question for you is who should the Steelers quarterback be in 2025? And we'll end on this question.
Probably Justin Fields. Yeah, I just think like if you want another year of like mediocrity and like no upside, but you want to just like get 8 wins, 9 wins, throw Russ back in there if he's got another year. But to have Justin Fields, like a younger guy with that kind of talent, even though it has not materialized yet, just to have him sitting on the bench for the most part. I mean, if you want to get better, I feel like Russ is on the downward trend. What do we need to do, or what do they need to do to get Justin Fields on the upward trend? And you know what? They know way more than I do sitting on this little couch here this evening. So maybe they've seen that he just doesn't have it, and he can sit on the bench. But I think Pittsburgh. I think that quarterback question is the biggest question in Pittsburgh this year, even over Mike Tomlin and what they should do there. I think that quarterback situation is pretty interesting. Do you think they should start one of those guys, or do you think they go after somebody else, whether it be a trade or like in the draft? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm pulling up their cap space. I have heard they have the most expensive defense in the NFL. So that to me doesn't say, hey, we can afford a $50 million Russell Wilson, even if Russ just wants 2 years, $100 million. I don't think that they're going to be able to do that. I think the answer is Fields, or they're going to draft a rookie, a Jackson Dart or a Will Howard late in the first round. Take one of those guys. But I think Mike Tomlin likes Justin Fields, and I think he comes back on like a Sam Darnold 1 year, 13 million, loaded with incentives. Hey, here's a chance to prove it. We're gonna win our 8 to 10 games pretty much with or without you. Here's an opportunity to prove that you can be the guy. And so I also think the run game, like I don't know if it was me and you texting today, but like Saquon is having such a good year in part, and I know we said we are going to finish here, but he's having such a good year in part because of the threat of Jalen running. Like that opens up so many lanes where like the weeks Kenny Pickett, when he took over, like that was a little bit of a down week for Saquon. Why? Because Kenny Pickett can run the RPO, but the threat of him is zero. And so I just think if Pittsburgh wants to run the ball and be Baltimore 7 years ago, when Lamar was just getting started, like I think go run heavy, lean on the defense, and just play ball control and see where that can land you. But yeah, I agree. I think Russ. If you bring back Russ, you're just kind of like Yeah, I don't think the fan base would take too kindly to that. So
Well, check this out. You
anyway,
ready? Just throw this out
go
real
ahead.
quick. I'm going to do this again. I'm
Yeah,
going to do right.
yeah,
um,
again.
here we go again. So I want to say two things. First thing is what would happen, and I'll let you answer, and then we can be done. I'll shut my mouth. Dak Prescott, because I know people are talking about Shador Sanders, like, oh, if Dion goes to Dallas, he's going to want to draft Shador, but there's all this dead cap space. That'd be really interesting if there was some way they worked out Dak going to Pittsburgh, so that Shador could come in. That's one thing. The second
Yeah,
thing is I looked up the this year the NFL team red zone scoring percentage just to talk about like when you have a dynamic quarterback. Baltimore is number one. You got Buffalo at number two, Detroit at number three, but I think their red zone efficiency is more a tribute to Gibbs and Montgomery. Then you got Tampa Bay with Baker, Cincinnati with Joe, Washington with Jaden, and Chicago with Caleb Williams. Even though Caleb, I mean, they didn't have a good year, but I think that shows that maybe it's common sense, but yeah, if you've got a running quarterback, you leave the defense guessing a heck of a lot more. I think it's pretty important these days. So just want to throw that out there. That's all I got to say. That's it.
yeah, yeah. I looked as you were talking Dak, like his cap hit, and I thought maybe he was going to get traded, but like when I see these numbers, I'm like, oh, there's no way he's getting traded. Like zero. His cap hit is $89 million next year.
Yeah.
His dead cap, if the Cowboys cut him, is $150 million out of a $230 million cap. So like he's 100% playing on the Cowboys next year. Like those kind of numbers are not tradable. Because I don't think Jerry Jones trades Dak away for like, hey, we'll pay 50, we'll pay 69 million of this cap. You only have to pay 20 and you can have him as like the only way he does that, I think, is if Dion and Shador were a guaranteed thing. I think the conversation probably went, I will come if my son is there. And we both agree with you, Lightmore, that I don't know if he's going to be a bust, but the Glazing, the Dion, I actually think it'll be better for Shador if he goes to the NFL and is not coached by his dad. And that might be blasphemous. We would all take the opportunity to coach our sons in the NFL at any level because that would be awesome. But I think if he goes to like the Raiders with Tom Brady, with Ben Johnson, I think that's a much better for his development than like you go to the Cowboys and Dion's your dad and your coach and the Cowboys and the pressure, like that'll be a bust in 2 years, quick in a hurry. But yeah, Dak's not getting traded. $89 million.
Yeah.
That's absurd. So just when I'm like, man, the Eagles are going to run the NFC East for like the next 50 years, but now these stinking Commanders are looking like a problem. But yeah, the Cowboys, they are. And like, are any coaches? I think that's why they're going to have to hire Kellen Moore and steal our OC. He's probably like, I don't know how many people want that job. Like, you're going to have Dak and CD next year. What we said we're going to land on like the Steelers quarterback. Now we're talking Cowboys. All right, we're going to wrap this up. Again, we talked about at the beginning of the show a couple big news for us. We are going to expand our territory. Lightmore's going to get a good kick out of this, but if you're new, we tend to spin in circles and we don't always go A, B, C, D in a straight line. We like to follow our tails a little bit. And so, we're going to expand our podcast from just trying to stay focused on a fantasy football show to football as a whole. That'll mean college, that'll mean NFL, fantasy football. We're definitely going to still touch on stuff. We're just kind of taking the pressure off of us to only talk fantasy football and stay in that lane. We love all of football, and so we're gonna open our tent. We in the off season we might be talking UFC or NHL hockey or just kind of whatever's happening that week, just to get on here and have a good time. So again, follow us on X at Sideline FF Pod, which we might see again. Even that is Sideline Fantasy Football Pods. We're still figuring out those kind of details, but follow us on there at TSP Booker. at TSP Kevin. And yeah, have a great night and enjoy all of the football tomorrow. Natty on Monday. We'll see you guys next week.
Lots of good football. Have a good night, everybody.